Hello, welcome to Rough Cut Film Review. This is a review of The Life of Pi. Many years ago, I remember enjoying reading the novel. I don't read much in the way of novels, so, the imagination of Yann Patel's work was fantastic. I generally stick to non-fiction. After all these years, Ang Lee, the Taiwanese director, who's had a very strange career, has brought this to the big screen. Now, I saw this in 3D because very credible people have said to me, "Oh, Chris, you've got to see it in 3D. It's the best use of 3D in recent years, along with Avatar, maybe better than Avatar." I'd agree the 3D here looks better than most films I've seen in 3D, but it's a very visually impressive film, and I would rather have seen it in 2D and then not suffered the loss of light reduction, the light reduction thing you get with the 3D specs. So plot-wise, a Canadian writer is in India and he's looking for a fantastical story. He's told that someone in the town he's in has a story that will make him believe in God, and oh my word, it's the best story ever told. Off he trots and meets Pi Patel, who, as a man, who then recants a story of him when he was in his youth. So we then get a flashback, so the whole thing is a setup for explaining the story. As a boy growing up in India, Pi was something of a spiritual magpie. There's a bit of a joke that his name was actually Piscine Patel because of named after swimming pools, but it sounds like piss, so the kids made fun of him, so he called himself Pi Patel. So he was a bit of a spiritual magpie, as I said. He was a Hindu, and then he'd sort of decided he liked being a Catholic, and then he sort of liked bits of being a Muslim. So that's quite important in terms of the theology of the thing. His father is a sort of pragmatic atheist, I suppose, and his mother is very keen for Pi to follow his own path, both spiritually and in other ways. As is the nature of these things, the family business is, of course, running a zoo, as you do, and due to the economic landscape of owning zoo animals, the father makes a decision to leave India and relocate the zoo to Canada. So the family, they're sort of loaded up with all the animals onto a Japanese tanker, and off we go. While they're still in the Pacific, they hit a storm and the ship goes down. In the life raft is young Pi, a zebra, a hyena, an orangutan, and Richard Parker, who is a tiger. What follows is a visually impressive, fantastical spiritual journey for the young chap Pi that will apparently make you believe in God. Now, if I were unkind, I would describe this film as a young Indian boy in a raft making poor survival decisions and yelling at a CGI tiger. Other people have described this as one of the greatest films ever made, which I think they'll certainly downplay in a few years' time. However, I would certainly agree that this film should win Oscars for things like visual effects, because the film, not so much the 3D, the film does look absolutely fantastic, and from a technical perspective, it's wonderful. The film plays out very much as a parable would, but the theological message here for me is simplistic, it's saccharine, it doesn't hold up to any kind of scrutiny. Visually stunning, technically wonderful, but other elements of it, the actual bits that make it a film, don't stand up to any kind of scrutiny or, just looking at it in any way analytically. I don't understand why people have rated it so fantastically highly. It's perfectly fine. It looks amazing. All that stuff is great, but it's got big problems sort of below the surface, really. And below, if you scratch any deeper than the visual style, it's a very naive film. It's sort of, I suppose, it's a sort of feel-good, maybe a morality tale, I suppose you could call it. But it is, as I've said, it's simplistic and I can't believe this is only 4 minutes. Anyway, that's my review of The Life of Pi. It's worth seeing in the cinema, but if you go in thinking this is going to be the best film ever made, I would anticipate you to be disappointed. Kind regards, Chris Thomas.